G'day and welcome back to the channel, Headlight Restoration Perth. What we're working on here is a 2005 Ford Territory. You can see it's got some pretty questionable headlights on it. Belongs to a young lad, so he's pretty busy actually, so it was really hard to get a hold of him. So I ended up just going to where he works and just did it while he was at work. And because I've been trying to catch up with him for a couple of weeks, so it just wasn't working. So ended up just going to him, made it easy, and he was happy with that as well. So like you can see, the lights are pretty poor. So and you can only imagine what it would be like driving at night when you've got poor headlights, you've got poor vision, So and I think when I look at doing these, when you've got good headlights, it's a real safety issue, So the better the lights, the safer you are, So and driving at night is like 3 times riskier than driving during daylight, So so it will help to avoid those potential accidents. You're definitely driving at night. So there was a study done. They looked at over like 40,000 crashes, and they found that the cars that had good lights had a 20% lower risk of having that accident, So and plus a 30% reduction in driver injury. So it is important to have good lights because I don't think people realise the extra vision you get when you do have good lights, because it's gone bad over a period of time. You don't really. It's not a sharp contrast from good to bad. It might be a bit yellowy in the light. It's not as clear. It's not as bright. But because it happens so gradually, you don't really see the deterioration. Where when you might have had great lights, you could have been seeing an extra 20, 50 meters down the road, So but that just deteriorates over time, as you could well imagine there. So when you do have the good lights though, and it is clearer, in that test, the research that they done, the cars that had like really good quality vision through the lights, they could see a hazard like within maybe 2 seconds of it reaching the light, because the light was going a lot further down the road, opposed to when you have poor lights, it was like a 6-second period before you could see the actual hazard. So just that extra clarity really does make a whole lot of difference. So it is really important not to have those poor lights, or just to get them looked at, because if you are doing this as a business or looking at it, you can sell it as a safety. And like, I don't know about where you are, but here in Western Australia, because we have a lot of mining companies, safety is just somewhat ridiculous. So and when you start talking safety, you're thinking about the care of the family, things like that. So talking about safety, those glasses there, I went and bought some safety glasses because of doing the dry sanding using the drill as I do now. It does create a lot of the plastic dust. So I found some glasses from it was just a major like tool tool provider shop, not your general hardware, because they just do like the generics, gardening and whatnot. But when you go to a proper tool providing business, they usually have, a whole range of different brands and different safety products and all that. So I got them ones, and I got the ones with the gasket, the foam gasket around the inside, just to prevent that dust getting into my eyes, because I've noticed it, since I've stopped doing the hand sanding, the wet sanding, and going to this process, that there was getting in my eyes a bit. So I found some good glasses. The brand I did get was Milwaukee. I'm sure there's a lot of different brands out there that do the internal gasket on the lens and everything. But I've just found those ones, and 100%, they done a far better job than just a normal pair of safety glasses that I was doing, especially with that gasket. So if you are doing this, you are doing the dry sanding. We know it does get pretty dusty. So, and today, like, even so, you can't really see it within this image. It was pretty blowy. So that dust, you don't see it there too much, but like it was just blowing around a little bit, especially when you're on the wrong side of the wind, So so that was a good purchase, and definitely well worth it. So with this one, I also used a lot of second-hand sanding pads, or discs, should I say, because with the jobs that I've done, and I'm sure that if you're doing this as well, you realise that there's a lot of discs that are left over, are waste, all that. Some of them aren't reusable, but sometimes when you use a new pad on that little hand gimbal, when you're doing the horizontal and all that, just to get rid of all the swirls and everything, you're using a new pad on that, and because you're only using it by hand, a lot of the time it's still got a good 50-60% of the sanding disc left. So when I do that, I actually save those discs. I actually put all my discs into a pile from waste, and when I got 5 minutes, I'll just go through them and throw out the ones that aren't reusable, and keep the ones that are, because this light here was basically done 70%, 80% of this job was done with second-hand, reusable seconds on that sanding disc. So definitely don't just discard all the discs, because when you get to use them, and you might have to change them a little bit more often, but it doesn't really matter, because basically this light was done at the 80% reduction in cost, because of the good seconds that I had, just through not being wasteful, basically. So it's definitely worth having a look at that as an option, because I'm shoestring budget. Like anything I'm getting, it's from the sales of what I'm doing, because it's for two reasons. One, it is a cost saving exercise, but I'm trying to show my kids and anyone else who's watching this channel that you don't have to spend all this money and waste it all. Like, you can really utilize what you do have, and be successful at it as well, and get a few lights under your belt before you have to really worry about spending money on other stuff. So and I've from the jobs that I've done, I was able to buy just a cheap 12-volt polisher and everything. So it's through exercises like that where you get to use a second product, where it does come into effect. So And definitely the seconds on when I'm doing the hand sanding, because a lot of the time when I'm doing that hand sanding like that, I'm just getting into the corners or maybe along a lower edge or just the edges in general. So you don't need that really top quality conditioned disc, should I say. So yeah, so definitely save those ones that you've used, and you'll tell straight away that what can be reused and can't be, and let's just say you're looking at a 400 grit and you've used it a bit. For sure, it might not be that 400 anymore, but it still might be equivalent to a 800 or 1,000 grit. So when I was doing this, like I was at one of the end processes of the sanding, and so I used the 400 pad, the disc, but it was equivalent to that point, maybe an 8 or 1,000, and it was just nice enough to be able to get right into those corners and the edges just to finalise them. So definitely utilise what you have, and just try not to be wasteful. So I've gone through the whole process, just use the Trizac 3000, and then after that you use the window cleaner. It's just a generic window cleaner. It's nothing, no brand associated. And then when that gravity falls, it pulls down all the particles that you've been creating through that sanding process. So it does just drag it down. You will see that the light still looks really hazy. I think it's 80% of that is because it is got that sun reflection on it. Like if you see it in the shadow, it does, like you can see right on that right edge, you can see that light a lot better because that's in the shadow. So when you're looking at that light in the shadow, like right there, you can see that it is clearing up a lot better. But when it's in full sunlight, that glare making it look pretty opaque still. But even so, I've done the sanding. I've gone over it with the window cleaner. It's always really important to continue to look at what's left on the surface after each pass, or each section, or each step, whatever way you want to put it. Because when I was looking at that, there was a couple of real little spots that had that still needed addressing. The thing is, the condition of the light itself it wasn't 100%. So some of those were pits. Could have been from all the highway use. The breakdown of that clear that was on it, so it was so any stones and sand and all that's smashing against that light, it was smashing directly against the lens rather than the clear. So when you peel that clear off, you're peeling away that indentation as well. But there was a couple of minor specks and everything that was still there. So you just go over it as often and as regular as you need to, and then from that you go back to the wet and dry, the 3000 3M Trizac pad. You can see it's pretty windy because it's drying pretty well straight away. There's still a bit of moisture still left in the pad, but so there, finish off again with the window cleaner before getting another view. And then once you're happy with that, we're going to do the polishing and everything. I do use the Maguire Plastex. I have just ordered a Chemical Guy Headlight Restorer because it seems to be got a lot more oil substance and things like that in that product, but it's something that I haven't been able to find in any of the shops that sell Chemical Guy. Even doesn't matter how big their range is, that Headlight Restorer just wasn't available. So I ended up just buying that online. I think I ended up getting it from Amazon, but that should arrive in the next week. So with that Plastex and the chemical guy, the Headlight Restorer, I will do a bit of a mix. I'll obviously do that chemical guy on its own first, just to get a really good feel of what it is like when applying and how to work it in and everything. And then I'm going to do another one where I'm using a combination, probably 2-to-1 ratio for the Plastex, and then 1 part of the chemical guy, the Headlight Restorer. So, like I say, that's the little polisher I ended up getting. Ended up costing $150. This from like an auto shop, but definitely worth that money. I'm sure there's a lot better ones, but for this, I was still getting the 7,000 to 8,000 revs a minute, and you could really make get good control through the trigger action. So you just had to be work that in, but the extra clarity. There was the lack of the smear that was still there, that were like with just using the drill, was really noticeable. So best. That was my best bloody investment so far. So, and then when you're getting that good clarity, when you're doing the clear, it was making a lot of difference. So as you can see here, with that shadow, great effort. So if this is something that you've enjoyed, subscribe, ask any questions. I look forward to all the feedback. You have a best day.